Hello, Dan. This is David Tischler with Turner Web Services, and today we're going to do your on-site implementation video. We're going to go over a few things, some of the things that exist and can be corrected with your website, some of the things that we're going to review some of the changes that I have made, or we as a team have made so far, and some of the things that you can do going forward. You can easily follow along here. We're going to go step by step by following this sheet, in which you will find in your SEO workbook. You should have a link to that. And so let's just jump right in. We'll start at the beginning. And one of the first things we look at here is the main navigation. And you're going to notice I marked off no on these. So let's take a look at your page and talk about why. So it lays out nicely here. One thing I notice is that there is no link to the blog, though. And then the next thing I notice is that when you click on the About page, it really just brings you down to this section here. This should be a separate page. This is another opportunity to really link, put another keyword in, and create more content. Okay, same thing with the contact form. While it is good to have the contact form on the home page and on all the other pages, you should have a separate page for that. And again, it gives you an opportunity to create content that will be picked up by the search engine. So definitely a good way to go there. And as I go here, I'm just going to mark off that we covered some of these things. The next thing we're going to do is, does the copy include a close variation of your keyword, which is wedding videography Los Angeles? So let's take a look at some of that stuff. So as we look here, you can see there's not a whole lot of content on here. What is here is for the About Us page. It does have it in there, but it doesn't really touch on it. What you really need here is a minimum of 500 words of copy about what it is you do, the services you offer, the areas you offer in. And then with the About Us page, you do a separate thing more about the history of the company, how you get started, why you got into the business, what makes you stand out from your competitors. So we want to get some copy written for this. The next thing we look at is the what's called the H1 tag. Now, you had a couple of things going on here. You didn't have a visible H1 tag, which is a heading 1 tag, but you did have one that was kind of hidden, which is a no-no. We're going to actually get to that in the first place. And it didn't have your main keyword in there. So one of the things I changed here, and you can certainly change the style, you can certainly do that, but this should have a variation of your main keyword here. So as we go through this stuff, we talk about the copy should have what you do, what your services, and should include your keywords. There should only ever be one H1 tag on a page. It should not be hidden. You can see we did change that there. The next thing we're going to talk about is H2 and H6 structure. So essentially, these are your other headings, things like this and about and things like that. You want to make sure that these are considered subheadings. It gives a level of importance to Google, and they're also good places to use your keywords. You want to make sure that as we write the new content, we use those properly. Okay, moving right along. Again, I told you need to have a minimum of 500 words on your homepage, 300 words on all of those pages. And a good thing to do is within this copy here, say if this were your homepage copy and you had a separate wedding videography page, which you do, you could actually link this to it. So definitely want to internal linking makes for a better usage for the user's experience, and that is a factor that Google looks at. So important to do that. So I just want to make sure that we're covering all of that. And then the last thing we look at is the footer. Okay, so it looks like you're actually in decent shape here, because you have well, you have your company name down here, which is good. I would recommend putting it in here as well. But you also have your email and your address here, and your phone number, which is vital for getting found. So you're actually in good shape there. The next thing we want to move along to here, okay, are the core pages. So one of the things we did was change the page title descriptions and all of that stuff. So where you can find that is actually on this tab right here at the bottom, new metas and keywords. You can see some of the old ones you had. There were duplicate. It basically just barely mentioned it, and we kind of customized it a little more and made sure it fit, and I have made those changes for you. So you're actually in pretty good shape as far as that goes. The way you change those, let me go ahead and show you how you do that. So what we want to do is come in here to the menus and pages, and you click on the dots, and then you can see there's settings, and then there's SEO and social. So if you go into SEO and social, you can see it gives you a little preview here, and then it says what's the page title you want to see on the results. This is where you would put that in. This is where you would put the description in. Okay, and then the page URL, obviously it has that. Keywords, we want to make sure we don't have keywords in here. Years ago, this was considered a best practice and something that was a good thing to do. Right now, and for many years, Google has not used it. People were using it to try to game the system, and they have worked it out of there. So the only thing it really does is give your competitors a strategic advantage, because they can go in there and see what keywords you're optimizing for. You don't necessarily want to do that. So what we do is we check to make sure it's not in there. Let me show you how. One of the ways we check, we use this Moz keyword bar, and I can come in here and it tells me a whole lot of information about the page, the H1 tags, whether it finds the meta keywords, and this is not found. So you're in good shape there. Okay. The next thing we want to look at, coming back to the site optimization page. Okay, meta descriptions, we went over that. We went over keywords. Multiple page titles and meta descriptions. Well, I explained earlier, you had some that were duplicate. You always want to have an original one for each page. Should have an original one. It should be targeted to its own particular keyword. And we want to make sure that that is good. So as we change the meta descriptions and titles, we did make sure that that happens. Now you want to do the same thing when you're writing your blogs, and you're going to get an entirely separate video explaining blog posts and everything you need to focus on there. So that's why that section down there is blank. But as we go through here, there's a couple of other things we want to check. I just want to keep continuity here, just make sure I'm marking these off as we describe them. The next thing we do is we check for canonical redirects. So what is a canonical redirect? That is, and I'm going to get rid of this here. You notice that in your URL here, you have the www dot. Okay. So what happens if I take the www dot out of there and just hit enter? Well, you can see it redirects right, and it puts the www back in. So that's a good thing. If you didn't do that and it actually came up as a separate page, that tells us that Google sees it as two separate pages with the same content. So now you're competing against yourself in order to to get linkings, and it dilutes the power of your content. So not only do you have to have the strong content, but you have to make sure that technically all these things are in good shape. The next thing on our list is changing the permalinks. Actually, you're in pretty good shape there. There was nothing we needed to change. But if you had one that was like home or home 1 or home 2 or wedding videography 2, you want to make sure that those are good. They're not too long. You don't want like a long sentence as the URL. Something short and sweet and related to the topic of the page. So you're actually in good shape there. The next thing we look at is SEO. For SEO is what's called the robots.txt file. And this is just a set of instructions that tells Google what files they can and can't see. So the way we look at that, if we come in here and we go robots.txt, you're going to see that it says disallow, and there's all these folders here. And this is generated from Wix. And they tell you, what sites that are not necessary to crawl for Google to be able to see the content that are more admin related. It keeps you from having unrelated content and things like that on there. The next thing you see here is also the sitemap. So what happens? Let's take a look here. So this is something that is auto-generated by Wix as well. And this is a list of all the pages. So we can go into Google Search Console and we can make a list of everything here and take this list and say, hey Google, these pages are ready to be crawled. We want you to index them, and that can speed up the time it takes to get them into the index and to improve your rankings. So you submit a new sitemap, it goes in there and crawls again, and then hopefully indexes you rather quickly. So definitely an important thing to have on there. Again, you do. And then the next thing we want to go over here are what's called black hat practices. Now, I did mention this kind of in the beginning of our conversation. Now, text cloaking, that's kind of hidden text, and you had that as we did layers here. What I found was on the page, if I open the page here, there was several text columns that were hidden, that were not visible to the user, and that is something that Google considers a big no-no. So I did get rid of those. You're actually in good shape there. The next thing we want to look at is keyword stuffing. Keyword stuffing and text cloaking. So text cloaking is one of those things. People can hide all kinds of keywords and just try to make the page seem more important than it is. That goes back to the days when Google, just the number of keywords that you had on the page was really important. Think white text on a black background. That would be considered hidden. Keyword stuffing is visible text that the users can see, but it makes for a horrible user experience, i.e. Our cashmere sweaters are the best cashmere sweaters of any cashmere sweater in any cashmere sweater company ever. That's considered like keyword stuffing. So you're just trying to stuff that cashmere sweater in there. Link schemes you're actually good on. And as far as schema, let's take a look at that. So there's something called the structured data testing tool. And before I do that, I just want to grab the URL here. And we're going to add this, and we're going to go to the structured data testing tool. And drop your URL in. And so what structured data is little breadcrumbs that we give in the code to Google to tell them essentially what the website is about. little clues about different elements. You can tell them there's a video there. You can tell them about the organization. You can tell them different things. So you can see you do have a bunch of different things here. It tells you about the image, what it is. It tells the name of it. And this is mostly associated with your images. One of the things you don't have in here, and I'm not sure that you can do with Wix, it might be a shortfall of there, but is putting in information about your organization and the hours that you keep, and tagging your videos and things like that. So definitely it could be improved, but I'm not sure it can be improved on the Wix platform. There are some shortfalls there. So it might be something to look into later, or you might decide to move to, say, a WordPress platform or something along those lines. So as of now, you're in good shape here that we eliminated all of the cloaked or hidden data. And so you are definitely doing good there. Again, we're going to skip these sections because this has to do with the blog. You're going to get a separate video on that. Show it in Squarespace you're not on, so that has nothing to do with you. And again, there was that section up here for WordPress that, again, you're not on, so irrelevant to this. But that's why those sections are blank. So what we come down to now is some suggestions. We talked about the footer. You're actually doing well there. So you have your name, address. I would make the name a little bit more prominent and things like that. You definitely want to add more text, particularly to your homepage, 500 words, minimum 300 words on all the internal pages. The other thing is signposting and calls to action. So let's take a quick look at this. We'll get rid of the sitemap. And I'll just kind of explain what signposting is. So this here would be signposting, videography. You might want to have a different call to action, like learn more about videography, learn more about photography. And those are ones that are linked with buttons and things like that. So you could certainly use a little improvement in that area. I did not find any broken links, so you're in good shape there. We did not find any duplicate or unused URLs, so you're in good shape there. This is probably the 10th time I'm going to repeat this, is minimum 300 words on every page. So you want to make sure you have enough content there. Alt text. It does look like you have alt text on all your photos. You want to keep doing it every time you put a photo in. And what you want to do is just describe what's in the photo. If there's an opportunity to talk about the venue or something like that, you want to do that. But don't use it as an opportunity to kill it with keywords. Once mentioned, if it's possible during the description, great. But otherwise, you don't want to overkill. Now, here's where you really run into some issues. Your load time is 19.7 seconds. Okay. Ideally, we want 3 to 4 seconds. And what's killing you with speed here, actually, when I reran it here, you're 14.2 seconds this time. So that's actually a little better. But it's still, it is not good. Average is about 6.3, and ideal we want it 4 or under. So one of the things you can do is optimize your images. There's some new formats, JPEG 2000 and more web-friendly formats that supposedly, and these are brand new, but they supposedly allow for compression without any quality loss. So definitely something to look into. Browser caching, I'm not sure that's something that you can do with Wix. Again, something to look at. But if you go to the page speed insights. So if you just Google page speed insights and put your site in here, you're going to come up with all of these. And you can see for mobile you scored 24, and for desktop a 76, which the desktop falls into average. But as we click back to mobile here, you're going to see there's a lot of information opportunities. Video formats for animated content can save you a lot of time, and if you click here it will kind of give you a whole bunch of information, teach you where to go for that and everything you can find. So optimizing your images, optimizing your videos, getting that page speed up, that's probably one of the highest priorities that you need to look at. So just want to make sure that we cover that. Okay. The next thing we look at is mobile-friendly design, and we have the mobile-friendly test tool. No loading issues. Page is mobile-friendly, so you're definitely doing good there. And so nothing to worry about. And the last thing is boilerplate copy, which I didn't see any of, but just so I can explain it to you, boilerplate copy is the copy you see on every website. It sounds exactly the same. You read it, it's exactly the same. So there's nothing new or unique that makes your business stand out, and thereby making it harder to rank with Google, because Google will consider it duplicate or boilerplate, or this is the same that's on everything else. It doesn't help you to stand out. So that brings us to the end of our video. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. My name again is David, and it's been a pleasure doing the video, and I look forward to working with you to get the site in better shape. Thanks very much.